Justin, how are you today?
Doing well, my friend. Glad to be back on this snowy day. It's bringing the heat with DNVR bets, right?
That's right. That's right. I'm typing up my tweet for the show now, which I'm notoriously late doing always. I was trying to spell Nostradamus. I'm calling you the Mountain West's Nostradamus.
Ooh, I like it. I have no
It's
idea
a
how to
good
spell it, but I
one.
do like it.
It's a lofty comp, but as long as we stick to predictions, I don't think it's too problematic, which you love to see. Also, Justin, happy to report in our nonsense heavy show that an issue I've had that's plagued me all week. We tried to provide a solution last week. It did not provide the solution I seeked, but finally I am back to being able to text from my Mac. Big time stuff for your guy. The productivity for me has really increased in
People
this
don't
one.
understand actually how
Oh,
frustrating that is, though. Like when you're trying to,
the worst.
you're on the stream and you're trying to get something that you have an iMessage, and then you have to like email it to send it as a text to your email, and then re-download it. It's like a whole
That's
pain in the
horrible.
ass. It's a, quote unquote white person problem or whatever, as they say on the internet, but definitely a legitimate one.
Yeah, and I mean, producer Cale is mentioning Android life, how he's never been able to text from his computer. Cale, you don't know what you're missing. I've, many friends have been omitted from groups because you just, it's not the color of the text. It's being able to text from your computer. I frankly hate all Mac technology. I think they are savages and are overselling inferior products. But that connectivity keeps me coming back. So there you go. And our connectivity to winning, Justin, keeps you coming back because you are, as always, fan favorite. Kind of a massive couple weeks in the Mountain West. So I'm actually really glad that RK was out today and we could make this happen. I think that's enough tomfoolery for now. Let's jump into your big three because, as I mentioned in my tweet, mega updates on a whole lot of futures. So I want to save some time for seg 2, part 2 of the show. So yeah, stay tuned.
All right. With my big three here, we can pull it up. I've got a couple of Mountain West games, and honestly, like I'm a big proponent of betting what you know, and because of that, I'm trying to stay in it now.
That's right.
I think this Utah State New Mexico total is now like 147.5, which makes me feel a little bit more nervous. But I was definitely on it when it was 149. I was like, I don't know, I'll take that under.
Love that when it moves in your direction. Always a great sign, Justin. Always a great sign.
Agreed. Yeah, it's just hard to score in Logan. New Mexico's got a couple of really versatile guards in Jalen House and Jamal Mashburn Jr. They're the second best offense in the Mountain West, so it's kind of, counterintuitive to some extent. But this is a game that Utah State desperately needs. They don't want to lose anymore and end up with a really terrible seed in the Mountain West tournament. I like them at home. Defensively, I think they're just going to stuff them. And New Mexico, coming off of their worst game of the season, they lost to San Jose State. So I don't like a lot of offense in that game, period. UNLV at Nevada. Nevada's actually won like 7 of the last 8 against UNLV. Nevada's been the better brand over the last half decade. Right now, though, UNLV is the more complete team. They're really hot. Bryce Hamilton's a stud on the wing. Dre and I were texting about him earlier. The best player in the country that nobody's talking about, a guy that's dropped 40 plus more than once this season and lives to be that villain in an opposing arena. So I think in an in-state rivalry game, I like UNLV. They're defending, and I like them to pull the upset at plus 125. Another road upset, which is, again, not something you go with very often in college basketball. I like San Diego State to take down Boise State on the road tonight. Boise State did beat them in San Diego, but it was a really wonky game that had 79 combined points between the two teams. One of the uglier games I've ever remembered. Both of these defenses are really, really good. I expect baskets to come at a premium, but this is classic San Diego State upset territory. Everyone's in on Boise State at this point. That's when they kind of snatch your soul and remind everyone why they've been the top of the league for the last decade.
Love that. That really DNVR bets, I think what we have honed in and understood is we all possess answers and knowledge that few possess, not even the book and perception itself. And Justin, you've leaned into that, and it's really been a key. I love that we have these 3 Mountain West games. If we could get props, where would they set like Hamilton's points for tonight? Like 22.5?
Yeah, 20. I'd maybe even more like 23.5, 24.5 with the way that he plays in these big ones.
Yeah, you kind of got to hike those up too, because there's, the public's always more intrigued in an over. And, like a big half, you can cover that like in the blink of an eye with guys like that. So you got to kind of cover yourself a little. Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, that's absurd. That tells you what kind of a scorer he is for a college kid right here.
He's just so versatile. I mean, he can make bad shots, but he's one of those guys that makes really tough shots, NBA type threes with hands in his face, can create for himself. He's explosive on the drive. And what he's really learned to do, and what made the big difference in UNLV's win over CSU on Saturday, is the fact that he's learned to take the kick out pass when it's there. When they double him, when they triple him, he'll make that skip pass to the corner, and they have other guys that are hitting threes now, and that's just really been the big difference. And honestly, man, UNLV is a scary team. Nobody wants to play them in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, they'll be fun to monitor. I'll be thinking of you. You got to text me when UNLV is like a hot dog these next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
We
got a lot of big games. So if you're a DNVR member, go check it out. I posted in my article, I included all the schedules of the top 4 teams in the Mountain West. So it's, we'll get into this later when we talk about some of the college basketball futures, but there's going to be a lot of cannibalization. So some big chances to make money here.
Absolutely, man. I mean, again, it all goes into what and there's no doubt Mountain West hoops. So keep it running while it's hot. Let's get to my big 3. I'm coming off a 1-2 night. Not my best, just not my best. I parlayed the Kraken, didn't work out because somehow, Hank, I hope you're still in the comments. Great call on the Canadiens. Did not see that coming. Massive dogs, and you had the puck line, and they just got obliterated. So then Villarreal didn't come through for me. What are you gonna do? But it's okay. I'm sticking to my fade the Kraken method. Kraken coming off back to back, so I'm even gonna buy a little value here, acquire a little value, and take the 60-minute line with the Islanders, who've been much, much better in the second half of the season. Much better play in goal. It's kind of helped that Varlamov, and one of the better goalie tandems has been out for COVID, so that's giving Sorokin some more consistent time. Guys like Brock Nelson, Anders Lee, Barzal, all that talent up front for the Islanders is all feeling better. And Seattle, the Kraken, they're stuck with Gruby because Chris Drieger's out, and he's just not. He's been fine. As I said, he's been fine. It's that the team just doesn't play well around Grube. And this is actually tremendous value on the Islanders 60-minute. Then give me Aaron Ekblad. Ekblad, I feel like I need to pronounce that L, but it doesn't matter. I may not know how to pronounce his name, but I know this guy is a true standout on the blue line for the Florida Panthers, having an outstanding season. He's a standout for my fantasy team, and he's putting shots on goal like crazy. So while the book adjusts on El Perro, the other outstanding, fan favorite for us when it comes to shot on goal props, of course, I'm talking about Alexander Barkov for the Panthers. His number has changed to 3.5. I will take Ekblad here at 2.5. He's been hitting the over at a tremendous rate, and they take on the Nashville Predators, which actually I think is kind of one of those games that really plays into, stud blue liner against stud blue liner, and Ekblad will get his. And then Braden Shen, a standout who's been for the St. Louis Blues, really been hot lately. He's hit the over on this prop 4 of the last 5, really kind of hitting his stride. I believe it was like 8 of the last 12 as well. This is a classic. Everybody loves a low number, kind of mining those lower shot on goal props and where you can get them right now. And Ekbad, tremendous value. And one that hit for me yesterday, Mitch Marner. Mitch Marner's still at 2.5, as well as the Maple Leafs take on the Blue Jackets. You could parlay all three of those. That'd be a nice little Tuesday night 3-way parlay on just shots on goal. That would feel very good. So there you go. There are.
I love your hockey bets, just because I feel like there's a little bit more predictability with some of these individual props, in the NHL, because it's 3-point shots. It's kind of a shit show in the NBA. You know what I mean? Like Nikola Jokic, some nights he's going to pop up 7, and some nights he's not even going to take one. Nathan McKinnon, he's going to put 2-3 shots on goal every single game. When you can get those, value lines, I like it. I ride with you on these a lot of the time, and they're pretty lucrative.
Yeah, it's all a matter of just finding the right. I think this season it took us a while, but I think we're starting to adjust. But you can't stick to your same old props, because sooner or later Barkov's going to get raised to 3.5. I mean, guys like Austin Matthews and McKinnon, you're finding them at 4.5 now. So Mikko, who used to be just like gold at 2.5, he's been adjusted to 3.5. So it's been finding Kadri and finding new guys who you can now mine. You gotta always try and stay ahead of the book. That's the thing. That's the game here.
I brought it back around. At first, I sounded kind of silly. I like hockey bets. No, I like your player props.
Speaking of which, what jersey are you wearing right now, Justin? I've been wondering this whole time.
Dikembe Mutombo.
Oh my gosh.
Classic.
Dikembe Mutombo, blue skyline, a true classic right there. Very nice. That yellow and blue, it was not sitting right. It felt like you were wearing a Warriors jersey, and I knew you would never do that, and you would never do that while wearing a Nuggets hat.
I wouldn't even own a Warriors jersey. Like if I acquired it, I would donate it to charity or something. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like, give it to a little Steph fan.
Yeah, or send it to that Memphis Grizzlies jersey swap. You see that? That was great stuff. That was
get a John Morant jersey.
Small school guys. We can get after Ja. Speaking of the book, speaking of our love of sports, DraftKings Sportsbook, #1 in all of the land and much beyond, as you all know. The app's fantastic. Customer service cannot speak higher to how they have taken care of myself and my homies in any times of discomfort or need. Great free pools. We were messing around with those yesterday. Odds boost galore. The app with a little bit of an update. So now you click the old opt-in. It's all a little more clear cut, a little more sleek. Then they've got Stats Hub, where that's my place to go. It's the only app that actually gives accurate times of when games are starting. And you can even start to navigate it right. You can the injury reports. I can even watch some EuroLeague basketball on the app. It's incredible. I mean, literally, that saved me like a $200 subscription a year to EuroLeague TV, because I'm a sicko. So there you go. And this week, Justin, new users. I bet you know what new users get. They bet $1 and they win 150 some odd dollars on NBA. Is that right?
I want to double check. I think it's bet 5. Actually, I haven't done it this week.
I put Hank on the spot, and Hank surprised us. Hank had the answers. It was a run it back from last week. I never do these reads, so I don't remember when I have you guys on. I now just defer to you, and that makes for some friendly fun. So tell us.
What you can do, head on over to DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA, I might add.
Come on.
Bet $1 on any team, get $150 in free bets if they win. It's that simple. You can also get in with the same game parlay, combine multiple bets from the same game, get a bigger payout. It's safe, secure, and reliable. And, deposit and withdraw your cash whenever you need. Maybe you got date night coming up, pull out a little bit of money, pay for dinner, keep it rolling. It's all about being fluid. Go to DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. If you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-522-4700. Make sure that you're using that code DNVR when you sign up.
Yes, absolutely. Very well done. Thank you, Justin. Those 3 shot props you parlay together plus 379. Bad. But let's get into some futures. And Justin, we're just gonna get it out the way now. Yeah, there you go. NFL draft, NBA, college basketball, and LHL's must bet futures. So we did have you on, was it last week? 2 weeks ago?
I think it was 2 weeks ago,
Recently-ish.
yeah.
To talk about some intriguing futures in college basketball. And we were actually both kind of surprised by how, if we go to the division winners, or the conference winners rather, you were getting some really nice odds on teams sitting in second or third place who might have just been game and a half back. I know our guy Mitch of DNVR Rapids made a nice little chunk of change, or is looking to potentially make a nice chunk of change on a Kentucky future just a week ago because they won a game and Auburn dropped one. So now they're neck and neck for
you
the
can still get
SEC.
Kentucky at plus 800, by the way. And they're very much in the thick of things. Like it's
That's
so reactionary.
nuts.
It's odd. Auburn's really good. Like I get it. Auburn's
probably
been the most impressive team I've watched consistently this year. Kentucky's got a ton of talent, though, and they got a favorable schedule down the line. And if we're just talking value, I mean, plus 800, there's just a couple of them. Like if you look at the Mountain West as well, like right now, Boise State, they are the favorite at minus 105. You can get Wyoming at plus 110. They're tied for the lead. You can get San Diego State at plus 1100. I already said I think they will beat Boise State tonight. If that happens, all of a sudden these odds are going to completely flip by morning. When I talked to you this morning, Colorado State was at plus 2,500. It's already down to plus 2,000 because people are betting it. There's a realistic path there. They're 2 games back. CSU, they trail Wyoming. They trail Boise State by 2 games each. They play both of them at home. So if they sweep there, you're sitting 1 game behind. All these other teams still have to play each other, like they got to play UNLV. They got to play Fresno State. They got to play Nevada. Just naturally, a lot of these teams are going to pick up a second loss. And all of a sudden, if CSU can just go undefeated, it's not a guarantee, but there's a pretty good shot at the very minimum. They're tied for first place. And then, we get into the tiebreakers and it can get a little bit wonky, but, I really love the value, especially at just plus 2,000.
Right. The equation you're betting on is for the Rams to beat Boise State and Wyoming, but at least both those games are at home. And in the previous matchups, those were really close and seem to favor the Rams, right?
Yeah, they're a free throw away from beating Wyoming on the road in regulation. They end up dropping that game in overtime up in Laramie. They beat Boise State by double digits. So there is a path for CSU. There's a path for San Diego State as well, I'll say, at plus 1,100. Totally. They're 1 game back. If they beat Boise State tonight, things are going to get really interesting, but they still have to play Wyoming too. A lot of these teams have to go to UNLV. They have to play Nevada and Grant Sherfield. Some of them have to play Orlando Robinson and Fresno State, a guy who's considered, the best NBA prospect. So it's just like, it's plus 2,000 for a reason. You need a lot to go your way, but it's not nearly as crazy as you would think. Like if I was setting this, I would put it at more like plus 1,100 for CSU right now. I'd put San Diego State at like plus 500, but you're getting, in my estimation, twice the value you deserve.
Thank you, because that's really that's the point I wanted to make. If you were to parlay the Rams to go 3-0, hosting Wyoming, hosting Boise State, in between, you have a road game to Utah State. Now, that's no cupcake. If you were to pick 3 opponents in the Mountain West, those are the 3 toughest, excluding Colorado State. And you could make an argument for UNLV and the form they've been in. We've covered that. But if you were to parlay the Rams to win those 3 games, to simply go 3-0, these are at most pick'ems. You're talking anywhere from plus 120 to minus 120. So that parlay wouldn't look that much different than the 3 shot on goal parlays I just gave out for the NHL. That's a plus 374 because it's 3 bets in the minus. Let's round that up and say that should be plus 500. You're basically getting a 3-leg parlay at around plus 500 in the plus 2000s. I'm not off with that, right?
Well, I mean, you need like a little bit more to go your way, obviously, because you need the other teams to lose too.
You need at least
the
one
difference
loss from both Boise and Wyoming.
And San Diego State. But
right,
San Diego State's only one game ahead, and CSU already split with them. So
right,
like, and they have to play both Wyoming and Boise State. So the odds of them winning both, like, that's my point here. Is just naturally, all of these teams like San Diego State and Boise State, they play tonight. That's head to head. One of them already is going to pick up the extra loss that CSU needs one of those teams to pick. They all play each other. Like, it could just happen. Yeah, I think your comparison's right on. Again, you need a little bit more to go your way. That's true. It's like a plus 500 bet. So maybe you say you factor in the other stuff you need to go your way. That makes it like plus 800. But again, still, you're getting this at plus 2,000.
And telling that from when we were talking about it this morning, that switched. Didn't Wyoming's odds flip drastically? Weren't they more like in the plus 200 to 300s here?
Yeah, Wyoming, they were like plus 280, I think. And now that's all the way down to plus 110. So everybody's looking at it the same way I am. And they're thinking, look, any of these top 4 teams can win. I might as well just go for the best value. Like at this point, if San Diego State goes and beats Boise State on the road tonight, there's probably more value in betting on Boise State tomorrow because you'll be able to get them at plus money. But today, this is where the value is at.
Anything else that stands out to you? I mean, the races for the Big Ten and Big East, just looking at the odds, seem pretty close. But this is all
I like Providence in the Big East. They're actually a game above Villanova right now. And even with a 1-game lead, because they do have to play at Villanova in the season finale, they're plus 120. You can get them at plus. I mean, again, it's just a value thing. They are leading. So as long as they don't blow it, you know, there's good value there. And I've been a big Nova guy over the years. They just don't have the scoring depth that they typically do. And they don't have somebody that can facilitate or create. And that's kind of the toughest part. They have a bunch of shooters, but they don't have anybody to put that team in position to consistently score.
Yeah, that is intriguing that the book, as overreactionary as the book has been, that on that Nova Providence, but that goes to tell you, the name brand that a program like Nova has to college basketball bettors. I mean, that whole coaching staff. But man, I mean, that's a team that not only has to play Providence, they've got Butler and UConn tonight. So like it's an uphill battle. And Big Ten, do you want to move on to NHL or NBA, or do you have anything?
Big Ten is, I can't get a grip. Especially this whole fight thing now is going to really throw a loop into things. I do like the value you can get at Wisconsin. I will say that. The last time I checked, they were the second best at like plus 300. I like them potentially getting hot here down the stretch, but that is a league that makes me a little bit worried. So I've been staying away from it because on a night to night basis, it's been a tough one to get my thumb on.
So competitive too. I mean, that's the thing.
They're all good and they all win. And like the thing about the Mountain West is home court really matters a ton. So the fact that I'm betting on road teams tonight is like pretty significant. I almost never do it.
Sure.
In the Big Ten, it seems to happen like road teams win all the time. It seems like to me. I don't have the numbers to back that up, but it's just like a working theory I have. But like a lot of the times I'll just bet on, especially if you can get the road team, if it's like a pick'em game, I'll just take the road team at like plus 100 because why not? It's the Big Ten.
Interesting, because the Pac-12's the other way. I mean, forever it felt like, Pac-12, like the crappiest team in the world can win at home. Doesn't matter. I wonder how much of that is like travel based, and out west we have to travel a lot more. But Midwest, it is the Middle West, Justin. It's a little more travel. It's not like the Northeast. People who follow this show, they know what kind of geography experts we are here. So, Okay, that's intriguing. That's insights you can only get here,
Somebody's
folks.
gonna like go research this, and they're gonna find that I'm just like completely ass backwards on it. And they're gonna be like, Big Ten teams win 80% of the time at home, and this moron has no idea what he's talking about. But
But
I'm
again,
being honest with you. It's a working theory. I didn't dive into this. This is a gut thing. I watch a lot. I watch it a lot, and based on the bets I've won and based on the bets I've lost, when I bet on road teams in the Big Ten, I win. When I bet on home teams, they let me down.
it's all about vibes sometimes. I'm with you. All right, beautiful. Awards here. We're going to go to the NHL because James Norris, last time you were here, you were getting Makar in the plus. Now he's at -110. I
I have
hope
a
you
fun
guys jumped on
parlay.
early. Yeah. What you
I
got?
placed it about 5 or 6 weeks ago. It's Cale Makar to win the Norris and Colorado
Mhm.
State to win the Mountain West. So I need CSU to pull their part of
Oh,
that
man.
bargain because I think Makar is going to hold up his.
I think he's got it, man. Yeah. I also think this race for the Vesna, we have all sorts of great bets on Makar Norris, but I was seeing Sheffy in the comments earlier saying last time Hank was on the show 2 weeks ago, he put 2 of Hank's Olympic bets, parlayed that with Jokic MVP and Makar to win the Norris. All of those looking good, with Jokic MVP maybe being the most the longest shot because the other 2 hit. And Makar to win the Norris just keeps gaining value right now. So, and even at
You have
minus
time for
110,
Jokic to like I agree. It's probably the biggest long shot, but he's the second leading betting favorite right now in between Embiid and
100%.
Giannis. And if all of a sudden Denver gets hot, and they end up finishing with like the 4th seed or something, it's going to be really hard to argue that Jokic isn't the MVP.
I mean, the big thing is going to be the Embiid injury. That's always around the corner. With the other factor
I
being,
hate that it is.
well, of course, it's terrible, man. I mean, it's the thing that sucks about the NBA is that some of these guys just struggle to keep it together. And honestly, it's probably the most underrated greatness factor to Jokic, is that like the continuity for a man that big, otherworldly.
That's a good point. He's like a 1990 Civic. Put
Bro,
400,000 miles on it, drive it through the snow, drive it off a cliff, still running.
unfazed, driving its best in the snow, like 4,000 miles in. Like it's incredible. 400,000 rather. So Jokic plus 290, I think, is still really juicy. The NBA awards are just kind of whack. There's like
the value is not really there. Like I like Draymond Green, Defensive Player of the Year at plus 200. He's the
Draymond's a good one.
second best.
Mhm.
Even then, it
But the
feels like at
rest,
plus 200, it just feels like it's kind of a long shot at that. I like Milwaukee to win the Central Division at plus 110, especially with Alex Caruso's injury. I just think that's going to make it tough for Chicago to sustain the success that they've had all season. I think they're a fun team. They're a team that I'm rooting for, but I think Milwaukee has just kind of been coasting, to be honest. Like, I think at this point,
yeah,
they have made enough playoff runs to understand it's not really like they don't need to win 65 games. They just, like they just kind of got to hang around and then they'll get it together there at the
100%.
end, probably barely steal the division, especially with that injury to Caruso, and end up being one of the potential finals favorites.
That's a good one. You've kind of got some decent value on the Suns to win the West right now at plus 180. Obviously, would have been a shoe-in prior to this Chris Paul injury, but
That's the
that
only thing that makes me a little
restores
worried
some
now.
value. Yeah, I mean, and
It makes
how
it
do you
more
trust
fun
them
though.
without? How do you trust them without Chris Paul?
You can't really.
I still would hammer away their title favorite stuff.
A plus
Like plus
425.
425 is really good value. They see, I think they're as much of a shoe-in as the Avs to win the Stanley Cup at plus 400, but the NHL completely different monster. Like the favorite very rarely wins the Stanley Cup, while the favorite
Like
hasn't
almost
won
never.
the NBA championship in in the let's say 20 years, 22 years I've been following, 3 times the fave going into the season hasn't won the chip. Basically Detroit twice, Toronto, which, injuries galore. Last year was such an anomaly. I mean, I'm sure I'm disregarding a couple, like the first Shaq Lakers title. Maybe they're not the faves going in.
I was gonna say I don't think the D Wade Shaq Miami title
That's
were
a great
favorites
point.
going in.
That's
But,
a great point.
Yeah, it's on a year-to-year basis, 8 out of 10 years, it's probably going to be the favorite that wins it.
Exactly.
So at plus 425, really good value. You can get Milwaukee at plus 700. I just talked them up, I think, in the East. Them or Miami at plus 1,000. I don't know. I certainly like Phoenix a lot more. I think getting there is so much easier in the East, and the value at plus 700 or plus 1,000 versus only plus 425 for both Phoenix and Golden State. There's something to be said about that.
Yeah, and I mean, while it sucks, you're on the side of a Durant injury, an Embiid injury. These guys who are often fragile and have these injuries benefits you. You're on the right side of it. Well, that's a shitty way to think. Like ultimately we do this because we love sports and we're not trying to win bets off of fluke injuries or bad reffing,
but it's something you have to consider.
You have to.
It's why I won't put any money down on it's why I didn't put any money down on the Nets this year. As much as I thought, on paper you look at them and it's like, oh my God, they have all this talent. But then with all the Kyrie stuff and KD's injury history, it's just is this the team that I want to have my money attached to, that, it can end at any point with KD's injury?
Right.
We don't know if Kyrie's going to show up to work. James Harden, quit on that team. Now, obviously they traded him, but same thing with Philly. Yeah, I love Embiid. He's one of my favorite players to watch.
Oh, he's incredible.
I'd be so nervous if I had serious bankroll, invested in that guy or Harden for that matter.
Terrifying. It honestly, it kind of and I mean, shit, we don't have to stay here and be like, oh, what would it be like? It'd be like being a Nuggets fan and watching MPJ play every night. Anytime the guy comes down, you're holding your breath. It sucks. It's a shitty way to watch sports, but you love these guys. It's all you can do. It's such a sick living.
Why do we do this to ourselves?
I know, really. We added conference seeding to the NBA futures section. Nuggets to be the 6th seed, minus 110. Phoenix to be the 1 seed, minus 900 in the West, while Miami to be the 1 seed in the East, minus 110. Bucks to be the 1 seed, plus 400. I know you're intrigued by that, Justin.
I really like that.
Yeah. Grizz to lock in the 3 seed, which that really does feel like a lock to me. So I guess they could
barring a epic collapse. They're so deep. I don't know if I trust them as an actual contender, but I do think they finish in the top 4.
Yeah, they do feel like in a playoff series, aside from Ja, just needs to go nutty. It is who's gonna step up consistently for them in a playoff format to deliver enough half court offense to defer off of Ja. I'm
what
with
do you.
you.
They Denver's ceiling. Do you think it's that 6 seed?
God, it's probably.
Because I'm really tempted to take the value just at.
The plus 200 for the 5.
200, it's so juicy. I mean, if you go the 4 seed, all of a sudden it's crazy, but that would be banking on Jokic basically just carrying this team single-handedly to a 900 winning percentage over the second half of the year. And I don't think that's going to happen. So, but I don't know. I'm tempted to take the value on that 5 seed there just because I do think Jokic is good enough to kind of lift Denver in a couple of these games that they probably don't deserve to win, but they might end up taking in the end. And Cale and I were talking, earlier, sounds like Jamal and MPJ could be a part of the picture later. And I'll give him the floor here because I imagine that this is what he wants to chime in on.
All I know is the Nuggets are favored in their first 6 games back after the All-Star break straight. So if they go 6-0 out of that break, they'll be the 4 seed probably. Briefly, if not, because then they go into a little bit of a hard stretch, but they have a chance to go 6-0 here. So I like that plus money to get the 5 seed. I think that's a great bet.
I'm not super convinced on the Mavs either. You know,
I'm not either. Like, I love
just...
Luka, but I don't think that team has quite reached its. They don't play with the mentality of like a contender. I'm gonna kill you every night. Sometimes they do, but it's just so inconsistent.
And Kristaps being gone, like they're figuring some things out. 4 seed is really juicy. I mean, Nuggets at plus 1,200.
I'm considering sprinkling it just for the value. Again, like you have to recognize that that's an uphill battle and you need some things to go your way, but the value's there.
Yeah, and I mean, I think it's basically being pitched as like, if nothing else, that could be a quick like flip on a buyout. Like within 2 weeks, that plus 1,400 bet might be closer to plus 400 or plus 150. And then that's like, because again, very overreactionary to have like the team that is locked into that seed just be a predominant favorite when like the games between the Jazz at the 4 and the Nuggets at the 5 are merely 3. And it's just 1.5 games splitting the difference with the Mavs as the 5.
Just to give you guys some context, the Nuggets have won 3 coming into the All-Star break. They're favored in 6 out of it. If everything goes their way, that's a 9-game winning streak. And then you're probably looking at Jamal being healthy at that point as well. So they're probably going to go on a run after that, just for the sheer added depth of having another healthy guard on the roster who can run a pick and roll, which they only have one of them right now. I would buy into all the Nuggets futures you can. Because things are about to get a lot easier for them, and they have the easiest schedule down the stretch.
There you go.
The entire
I didn't realize
Cale's talking me into that 4 seed bet. Just
I don't think
so tasty.
To clarify, it's tasty. I don't think they get there. I think the Nuggets end the season as the 5 seed. But I'm just saying there's a lot of value there for how things are lined up for the Nuggets coming down the stretch.
Very interesting. I didn't realize this, but the NFL section has added some player futures specials, including Aaron Rodgers' next team, with the Green Bay Packers at minus 250 and the Denver Broncos at plus 350. So, Broncos twice as likely to land Aaron Rodgers as Kentucky is to win the SEC in basketball this year. So, according to the book, that's the kind of terms I like to put that in, Justin. That feel good. And more likely to hit than my 3-leg parlay on those shots on goals, which, like, come on. Deshaun Watson, the Washington Commanders, plus 300 favorites with the Bucks at plus 350, and then the Steelers Saints at plus 900 each, and the Texans and Broncos both at plus 1,000 with the Vikings. Interesting. And then Russell Wilson. Go check those out. No good odds on Russ. My guy has to go. He's the Nostradamus of the Mountain West. Check out all his stuff on DNVR Rams, the pod, the writing. He's got hints to bets in it all. He's jumping on the radio. Best of luck, folks. We out.